Welcome to another episode of Swallow Your Soul podcast. I am your host, Justin Bennett, and it has been a while, but guess what, folks? We're back to the paranormal, oddities, and weird stuff. Today is a special event. We have one of my good buddies with us today, Adam. Adam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Justin. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. We're just a couple of dudes sitting here drinking some bourbon, talking about some weird shit. So it doesn't get any better than that. It's a nice Friday night. So I can't complain. So Adam, how did you get into this type of material, and how long have you been researching it?
Well, I have been interested in esoteric knowledge and weird stuff for a very long time, since I was a kid. I guess I could blame it on Unsolved Mysteries and the Time Life books. Do you remember those? There's a series of Time Life books. They're hardback and they're black. And there was ones about psychic powers. There's ones about aliens. There's ones about that.
Nope, I don't think so.
I also remember, this is weird, but I've always remembered when Communion first came out by Whitley Strieber.
That was the best.
Do you remember that? Do you remember being a kid when that first came out?
Yes, I read that book when I was probably like 12.
That's crazy.
And then saw the movie, I think, in college.
Yeah.
I think I rented it in college, and that movie's insane.
Yeah.
Man.
Like, for some reason, I remember being a kid at Franklin's Cider Mill, of all places, and like hearing a radio report or something about Communion, about Whitley Strieber and that kind of thing. And then shortly thereafter, I mean, not that short after, but we had like Fire in the Sky.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? Like scared the crap out of me, right? But like scared it, but intrigued me at the same time.
Travis Walton.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great story.
That movie was insane, man.
That
Both
movie
of those
was good.
movies are insane. Christopher Walken and the Communion.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the scenes where like the abduction's happening and it's like they're dancing around and the aliens are doing weird shit and Christopher Walken's sitting there all like crazy looking. And I mean those
he's walking.
Yeah, exactly. Whitley Strieber, man, he's an interesting character.
Such an interesting character.
His wife got heavily involved with all that after the book and she was just like, whatever, like this is crazy shit. And after the book, like thousands and thousands of people emailed her and called her and wrote her letters saying, "Hey, we see your husband's into this and you helped him with the book. And I have to tell you my story." Yeah. And they sent thousands and thousands of stories in, and so she ended up like making the next book, I think, and publishing all these things.
Yeah.
But she was blown away. She thought her husband was like one of the only people for it to happen to. And once he published that book, she realized that there's millions of people that stuff has happened to.
Yeah, he tells a story about she was his business manager, okay, and like handled it all for that. And he said that one time she walked in to the living room and just took a giant bag and just dumped it on the ground. And it's like, these are all the testimonies of experiences that I've received.
Where did I hear that?
He talks about it all the time.
Okay.
And,
I've heard a lot of interviews.
But then
him,
she's had interactions and she's had experiences because of what happens to him.
Yeah.
And the whole hitchhiker effect and everything, and the orbs flying through the house and all that crap too. Right. So she's part of it.
Yeah, and if you guys at home don't know, Whitley Strieber wrote a book called Communion, and it's about his abductions that he's been having, I think, his whole life, right? And I think he's still having them. And
he has an implant.
Yeah. And his experiences, he's seen a few different types of aliens. But he also saw like angels, didn't he? Weren't angels part of it? Like some religious aspect?
Yeah, I know he's a religious guy, so
Yeah.
it's definitely tied in with
Yeah.
it. I don't think it's not as much as Bledsoe, but it's like it's still
Okay.
pretty prominent. He wrote books about Jesus
Okay.
and some stuff like that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I've listened to a lot of near death experiences
Mm-hmm.
where the people basically die and they see aliens. You know, they go into another realm, of course, and they see aliens. They see angels, and it's a lot of people think that these are just entities in different realms, different dimensions, even angels.
Yeah.
In this one woman, she supposedly met like Gabriel the angel a number of times. Like she had 5 or 6 near death experiences. So people see aliens, they see angels. I mean, they see all sorts of shit. Who's to say that an angel isn't just another so-called alien from a different dimension? You know.
Right.
A lot of them seem to have wings for some reason. You know, I don't know why they have wings, but
Which ones, the aliens or
a lot of the
angels?
angels people have seen have
Got it.
wings,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they actually fly with them or what, but it's just kind of interesting that maybe angels in the Bible are just you know, aliens from another dimension that have frequented this planet,
Yeah.
along with all the other aliens that we know that have been coming here for a long time.
Well, I mean, so a lot of people would automatically point out Saint Francis of Assisi, right?
Mhm.
He's the one that gave the description. He's the one who had a alien type experience, and then actually ended up getting they didn't know what it was at the time, but they had radioactive poisoning from it, and he died shortly thereafter. But I even tie it back further, and I think it goes back even further in religion, because I think the phenomenon, which is what I guess I refer to it, you know, a lot when it comes to aliens or what we know as extraterrestrial or NHI craft and stuff like that, because it shows up in a lot of different ways to a lot of different people,
Right.
and depending on your culture,
Right.
depending on your spirituality,
Exactly,
or
yeah.
your religion, you're going to frame it in a
Yeah.
specific way, right? Because if it's unexplainable,
Yeah.
then ultimately that's where your brain
comes
goes,
exactly.
right?
It comes down to what you believe to
Right.
be true. In fact, what's his name? Hernandez, the guy who wrote the book about how ghosts, aliens, near-death experiences, everything in those fields comes down to consciousness. Ray Hernandez.
Okay.
He said, if you listen to his experiences, I read a part of his book and I listened to him on a podcast. He said he was a complete atheist, right? Complete scientist, believed in nothing fringe, nothing paranormal, like I used to be. But then he woke up in the middle of the night, went down to his living room, and he saw a freaking glowing orb in the middle of his living room. And this dude's like a straight up like didn't believe anything, complete scientist.
Yeah.
Saw this orb in his living room. It's the craziest story. But his wife woke up too, and she came down and said, Ray, do you see that in the middle of the living room? And he goes, yeah, I see it. And she goes, it's an angel. So she was religious.
Yeah.
She saw an angel, but he
I
saw
see.
just a ball of light.
Right.
And so to your point, people see what goes hand in hand with their beliefs, right? And who knows, even if it was a ball of light, if it was a higher dimensional being, who knows what the actual shape was? You know, it's like
Right,
coming down to
or-
3 dimensions, which we live in, of course.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a 4, 5, 6 dimensional being, who knows what it really looks like? We
Right.
only see it as a ball of light or whatever, or an angel or whatever. But it could have been something completely different. You know what I mean?
And the question that my mind goes to right away is ultimately who's making the choice on how it's presented. Is the person perceiving it the one that's interpreting it that way, or is the entity itself presenting it because it has the knowledge that that's how that person would want to see it? Right? And that's always because if time and dimensions aren't an issue, then it could ultimately, already have the knowledge of what that person wants to see and present itself in that way to be accepted the most, or to elicit the response that it wants to get. Because sometimes it wants to get fear, sometimes it wants to get, awe or something else, or spiritual. So I haven't heard of Ray Hernandez. That's new for me.
Yeah, he's the guy that he didn't, a lot of people are moving toward all of these different fields. All are connected through consciousness.
Yes.
But he was one of the first people to kind of say, you know what? It's kind of weird that consciousness plays a role in all of these different things. And he wrote a book, or many books. Published 5 new books, it looks like. A Greater Reality by Ray Hernandez. I've read pieces of it, but not all of it. But yeah, he basically
non-local
says
consciousness. Okay, all right.
And so through meditation, you can meet aliens. You can go to different realms. You can have similar things to like near-death experiences. You can have out-of-body experiences, and it all comes down to consciousness. Which I actually agree with all that. It's all related.
So where do you stand on that? Yes, I think we can agree that, and it has been proven scientifically that consciousness is not just local to the mind. Your consciousness can, in a statistically valid way, affect things like random number generators and things like that. And even in the past as well, which is weird. But,
Oh yeah.
But it's been proven.
Yep.
Right?
Well,
so where do you fall on the spectrum of what consciousness is? Are we just a warm, wet vessel that is like catching a radio signal of our ultimate consciousness, or what is it?
That's a great question, and I've thought a lot about it actually, and my opinion is, and I actually, if you go to there's a Joe Rogan podcast with Thomas Campbell.
I've listened to it.
Oh my God, dude, that
Thomas
podcast
Campbell's
blew my mind, man, because he's a straight scientist physicist.
He is,
and he was just like me that didn't believe anything, and he discovered that he was able to tap in to the Akashic records, the database with all knowledge, whatever you want to call it. It's called a number of things. The ether, the Akashic records, a number of other things. But he was able to tap into it. I think he used meditation to do it. And he was solving physics equations, pulling the information from the mastered consciousness database. And people would ask him how he was doing it, and he didn't even want to tell them, hey, I'm meditating and tapping into the master database. They would have said, you're fucking crazy. So he didn't even tell them, but that's what he was doing, and he was able to prove it. If you get a chance, listen to the Thomas Campbell, Joe Rogan podcast, number 2259. Blew my mind. One of the best podcasts I've ever listened to, but I agree with his sentiment. I don't agree with everything he says, but
you don't like the simulation type thing?
I believe somewhat of that. He basically says we're living in a video game, which we probably, most likely are.
Yeah.
But he also says that aliens most likely don't exist because the universe doesn't have enough computational power to allow that to happen.
Yeah,
and I don't agree with that.
I think that things are rendered beyond our knowing. I feel like,
right.
because I do, the simulation theory and his
Yeah.
game theory it's a pretty nihilistic perspective.
Uh-huh.
There's not much to it. It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's kind of bleak. It's like, no, there's nothing else out there. Not unless you go and you manifest it.
Right.
You know? But I do understand his manifestation ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing things into being. And the more that people do pay attention to the phenomenon, the more that it's going to happen. I do think that that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as consciousness, I agree with his take on that. As far as it being, humans are, so first there were one-celled organisms, and then we evolved into humans. Mm-hmm. Well, before humans, there was just animals, and I believe his assessment that humans evolved, no matter how we got here, whether it was intervention or not, which is a good question. But we are definitely a way for the universe to experience itself. And I agree with his sentiment on that. Animals, they can observe the universe at a very basic level. Mm-hmm. And so humans evolved from animals because we are very sentient and we have larger brains and we can add a lot more information into the universal database as humans than just animals could. Mm-hmm. So I agree with that as well. It's the universe is basically evolving with consciousness to bring us toward a loving, all love type of frequency. And basically, chaos is becoming more and more ordered through consciousness. And since humans have been here, whatever it was, 200,000 years ago, the consciousness and the observation of the universe and adding organized information into the database has accelerated greatly with the evolution of humans. Animals, added a lot of information, but once humans evolved, it just skyrocketed it.
All right.
So that's my take on consciousness.
Okay.
Again, Thomas Campbell, Joe Rogan has a good podcast with him. But getting back to how we got into all this stuff, you were saying, where were you on that?
All right. Yeah. Way back. Time Life books, that kind of thing. And Unsolved Mysteries. Just lots of different things that, the early 90s, late 80s was a great time for, exploration of this type of topic. Then, of course, as I read more and more books and got interested in more and more things, it actually kind of, my life path, I followed somewhat of the esoteric knowledge, right? So when I went to college, I didn't want to get bored with college. So one of the things I was interested in at the time was anthropology, specifically with shamanism and with consciousness and with altered states of reality and the power, and definitely the path of the shaman and the path of enlightenment, as you would take it in all its different forms, right? Mm-hmm. Killing of the ego, mm-hmm. that type of thing.
Right.
And definitely was super interesting to me. So mm-hmm. I got my degree in cultural anthropology because of that.
Okay.
And because of that, too, I'm interested in, that taught me how to research topics pretty well. Mm-hmm. And dive pretty deep into things. And also how to see behind the veil because of Carlos Castaneda was a big inspiration for me mm-hmm. growing up.
Yep.
And
I read one of his books.
I've read all of them. And then I came to find out as well that a lot of them were made up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Or, yeah, again.
The Teachings of Don Juan?
Exactly.
That was a book, right?
That was the big one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with
Journey
the
to Ixalan is the next one, and then it goes from there. And there's 8 to 10 books in the
I read
Don
most
Juan
of that
series.
book. Yeah, with the all the different plants that he took.
Yes.
The mother plant, the father,
Peyote is what it comes
peyote,
down
mescaline,
to. Mm-hmm.
something weed.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I read a lot of that book actually.
Yeah. So a lot of that was super interesting to me. And Mexican, especially northern Mexican shamanism is very, very interesting and super cool. I mean, that's where we get skinwalkers from.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we get shape-shifting, lots of different things from.
Yeah.
That's not the only place, but that is like some of the main things. And again, too, to also hear that in the phenomena, northern Mexico, in places, is actually a like epicenter of taking down NHI craft in certain locations. Like it's like a dead zone. If they fly there, they get taken down.
I've
for
heard
some
of that.
reason. It's weird.
Yeah, there's
right?
like a triangle out in the desert where like people aren't sure, but there just is a ton of. It seems like there's a lot of crashes in that area.
Yeah,
which they don't exactly know why, whether it's the government or somebody doing something.
Yeah,
or just the magnetic.
Or the resonancy in that area, because it all seems to be tying back to resonancy. Mm-hmm. The more and more that you read about, especially as quantum becomes a thing in our reality, which it is now, everything has to do with resonance. Like, have you...
Right.
I don't know if you've
like the
dove
string theory
into...
type stuff?
Well, not even that. No, take away string theory. I'd rather not get into that, because... String theory has so many issues, and it's dying. It's dead. Okay. Pretty much. Like, I'd kill it. Okay. Is just quantum computing. Quantum computing takes resonance to actually work. If you haven't, take a chance, go on to Livermore Labs YouTube channel and watch their latest Quantum Leap. Or quantum jumping is what they call it, so it doesn't have this quantum leap thing. But watch
Scott
it.
Bakula.
But they do a good job of explaining how quantum computing actually works, and it does take microwave resonancy.
Okay.
Which is really freaking weird, because we hear that all the time, especially with consciousness research, with all that stuff, right? It takes resonancy, and I think the NHI takes resonance to be able to control the craft. I don't think that they are actually local in that craft. I think that they're controlling it from another location.
Yeah.
Because I think it's controlled through psi abilities, which take resonance, right? Which take hemisync. Well, you know from...
And NHI, for you people at home, is non-human intelligence. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's extraterrestrial. I don't know if it's somewhere else.
Right.
I think it might even be us that is
from the future
controlling it, or even us now, right?
Yeah.
That's controlling it, but I think the craft is coming from something else.
Yeah. Could be.
But
they could also be, like robotic, humanoid type of clone type, entities in these things. Although I've heard many stories that they actually, some of these visitors, I like to call them visitors. Who knows?
All right.
Who know? That's probably not even a great term for them, because they could be on this planet with us, or they're in another dimension. In the same area, in the same space.
Pop in, but then they're a visitor.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. But they still visit our dimension.
Yeah. So there's a lot of possibilities, but and I think Adam here is on board with kind of what I think as well, where we don't claim to know what these things are, and most people in the field don't claim to know either.
No.
We acknowledge that these UFOs, UAPs are out there, and we don't know what they are, and we don't claim to know what they are.
And I don't think it's important to know. I mean, I want to know.
Who knows?
I want to know,
Uh-huh.
right? But if you're looking at it from a scientific aspect or from a mind frame of empirical science and data driven,
Yeah.
then it doesn't really, you're not looking at that. You're just looking at the data that we're getting.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I don't like, though? The theory that these visitors, these UAPs, these UFOs, I don't like the theory that they're us from the future. I don't like that.
Why
Because
not?
you've heard that, though, right?
Of course.
Yeah. A lot of people
I think
say
that's
that.
a very basic
Yeah.
understanding of it. So
I
here,
don't like it.
hold on, though.
Because
I
go ahead.
think once you break down the constraints and understand that we, most likely humans right now, have the ability to alter time in any way that we want.
Yes,
right? That time
we
and
can.
space are interlinked, right?
Yep.
But can also be broken apart and adjusted here and there, right?
Yeah.
Through different means. But I don't think it's a horrible thing to think that humans in the future, or what we evolve into, would try to help us
Right.
along our journey
Right.
in probably a means that is probably the only means available to them, which isn't future humans actually traveling back, but sending drones or sending self-replicating things back in time to do it.
Yeah. Well, first off, let's talk about time. I believe, and it's not my theory, but I believe that all time, everything in time is happening right now.
Okay.
Because based on how fast you're flying through space, your time is altered. So I listened to this podcast about it. I can't explain it intelligently, but I do believe that all of time is happening right now. I've heard hundreds of people say it, and I thought that was crazy. But the more I hear and learn, I truly believe it. Because, if you go in a spaceship around the Earth and you're going 17,000 miles per hour for 10 years, and you come back to Earth, less time has passed for you because you were going at a faster speed than the rest of us here on Earth. The closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time goes. So if you're a photon flying from the sun, it will take 8 minutes for that photon to get to Earth, but if you were that photon, it's instantaneous. It gets emitted and it's boom, snap your fingers, it's here. It doesn't experience time because it's going the speed of light. But if we're watching it from a third party, it takes 8 minutes to reach here because it's going the speed of light.
Yeah.
So time, let's just assume that all of time is happening now, which I believe it is. But my problem with the theory that these visitors are us from the future is, so they're here to help us. But why come back to help us if we made it long enough for them to exist? Do you see what I mean? If they exist and these are us in the future, then why are they coming back to help us? Because if they exist, we don't need help. They exist.
Because
we did something right.
If you open the door to time travel, then you also have to open the door to alternate timelines existing.
Yeah, that's
right?
another question.
Right?
So how does that work?
Maybe they are keeping us on the right path or the right timeline. Right?
Okay.
So if we go down, if Trump does get a third, like if Trump stays in power or something like that, any of these things could be an answer, but I think that could be one of the answers to your question.
Okay.
Of
to keep us on
keeping the timeline
so that we don't stray from the line that created them.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting theory.
But have you ever opened the book of the 4chan whistleblower before. I know it gets a little bit crazy.
4chan whistleblower.
There's a 4chan whistleblower about UAP that came out. In
No.
2020?
I don't think so.
2021. He claims to have knowledge of, and he was like the second team in. He is a biologist, a physicist and biologist. And
is it the mothership one?
Partly, yeah. The
Okay.
hamburger one that's like under the ocean and moves around.
Okay.
Have you heard about this at
No,
all?
I haven't heard of this.
All right. So he claims that UAPs are all made for the exact specifications for what their mission is, and that they're these motherships that live under the ocean, and they're hamburger in shape.
Okay.
And they spit out ships that they create, and they build it around whatever the mission is for that ship. So, like, if you think about the different shapes that have shown up in UAP, they're crazy. They're all over the place, right? Some are like a Tic Tac. Some are like a
cigar,
tetrahedron. Some are like
a sphere inside a square, a cube inside of a sphere.
Right, jellyfish.
Cigars, jellyfish, like the that jellyfish UFO that was captured on high tech camera.
Yeah.
It was over in Middle East.
Yes.
That man, if you guys didn't see that video, Google that one. Jellyfish UFO over base. Yeah. Jeremy Corbell got this one out to the audience, out to the public. Leaked jellyfish UFO video leaves the internet enthralled. That video is freaking insane, man, over an Iraqi airbase.
Yes.
And I mean, the thing is, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's changing temperature, but that's hard to say because the camera was an infrared camera, I believe, and the color is going to change based on the background. So we don't really know if it was changing temperature or not, in my opinion, but if you guys haven't seen that jellyfish UFO over an Iraqi Air Force base, Google it and watch it because it's one of the best UFO videos I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
Do you
it's
agree?
even longer. It's even longer than he
Right.
said.
Yeah.
So
Where it
than
goes
what
down.
they show.
Yeah.
It leaves the base.
Yep.
It goes out over water,
Yep.
which again there's always water involved.
Yep.
It goes down into the water,
Yep.
comes back up, and then at a 45-degree angle, it shoots off
Yeah.
at an extreme rate.
And I heard, I think it was that one. I've heard both ways, but the UFOs that go into the water, a lot of them, and I don't know if that one did or not, but a lot of them don't create a splash.
No.
Which means that they're warping the space-time in front of them.
Right.
Which, we know a lot of these UFOs and UAPs, they actually do warp the space-time because they don't have sonic booms. They can go, they can speed up to 20,000 miles per hour with no sonic boom.
Yeah, that's because of the electrogravitics. They're actually, they surf a wave of gravity.
Right.
Okay, so that's another thing, and we can get into it.
Yeah.
But electrogravitics, an extended electrogravitics, is a real thing.
Yeah.
Scalar waves are real. Vector potentials are real. And this is crackpot science. That most scientists and physicists would tell you you're crazy, you're believing fringe theory, all this stuff. But at the same time, there are national scientific organizations that are saying that now that extended electrodynamics are real and they can be studied. And that's how you get to that.
Okay.
And that's how you bend time, too. You have to bend gravity to be able to bend time.
Yes. Yep. Time, space, gravity, speed, they're all related.
Electromagnetism as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right. All right, y'all. We're back. We had to re-up on the bourbon ginger. That's what's treating us well tonight. So if we get a little loopy, you know why. But we were just chatting while we made our drinks, and I said, you know what? Hold that thought. Let's record it while we talk. We were getting into Stephen Greer, which, if you don't know who he is, he's head of, I think, the Disclosure Project.
Very
I think
good.
is
You
what
got it.
what it is.
Absolutely.
And
DPI.
his theory is that we've been visited for thousands of years, and he actually thinks that our government is going to create a fake alien invasion using holograms, I believe. That's what he's saying is going to happen. If it does happen, if they do that, then I will say, okay, this guy was right all along. It seems a little far-fetched to me that they would do that, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. But the only thing one of the only things I don't agree with him about is that he says all alien races that visit Earth are nice. He says they're all nice, every single one of them. And they all just want to help us. And I don't agree with that. What do you think about that one, Adam?
I mean, I don't have enough knowledge to say one way or the other, but he definitely espouses that any of the negative, the abductions, any of the negative side of the phenomenon is all due to humans.
Yep.
He
Exactly.
says that Whitley Strieber, any of the people that have been abducted, have not been abducted by aliens, but have been abducted by abduction teams in our government.
Yeah. And I don't agree with that either.
It's pretty bonkers. I mean, I like to go down rabbit holes and to go all the way back to how we got into this. I think you were
we keep getting away from that, don't we?
You were one of the first people that I brought up.
Reptilians?
That I brought David Icke up with you.
And
you were one of the only people that had heard of David Icke before, right? But not to get too far away from David Greer, to Greer, Stephen Greer. He has been doing it longer than everybody. He has had contact with any whistleblower that you've ever heard of in this field or in this area has talked to Stephen Greer at one point. He's also talked to all of the government officials that are aware of this too.
Yeah.
Which he likes to point a lot of fingers at a lot of people saying that they're bad faith actors or that they're disinformation things. And I mean, so there is a case to be made that he is one of those people.
Right. That's what I wonder. I don't think he is, just because...
I don't think so.
I think, he says, well, hey, he was a doctor. He quit all that to spread the truth. And I believe that he at least believes that he is correct.
And fulfilling a mission that he's been put on.
And whether or not what he believes is correct, I believe that he believes that it's correct, and he's doing a good service for humanity.
Right.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's intentionally deceiving us. But you guys at home, Google Stephen Greer, the Disclosure Project. You'll see this guy's been in charge of this project for over 30 years, Adam says. And it's all about making our government basically give us the technology that our government basically farmed out to high-tech companies, Lockheed Martin, which is, I think, Skunk Works was part of that.
Northrop Grumman.
Grumman.
Rand Corporation, but that's been sucked up.
Yeah, and there's a number of them. I can't remember. I can never remember their names.
There's a ton of them.
But he says that our government basically gave these companies the technology to reverse engineer, and we, as the United States people, should have that technology, is what Stephen Greer says.
He thinks the world should have
the world, yep.
And that it should be open source.
Yeah.
And that people shouldn't be allowed to make money off of it. That it's an oligarchy that's in place.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that they have had the knowledge that extraterrestrial or antigravitic or all this technology has existed since, like, they've known about it since the 1800s. He says that there are documents that are still classified from the 19th century, which is fucking crazy to me. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
You know, that's like 60 years before the CIA was even created.
Uh-huh.
That's 40 years before the OSS was even created.
Who's the OSS?
That is the... that was the precursor to the CIA.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So before it was created.
Okay.
He also thinks that anybody who assists in keeping it secret should be tried for treason. Like, he's got some... He wants to go after people.
Yeah.
And that can get into some kind of hairy territory. But,
I'm really surprised they didn't rub him out yet. But, you know...
Well, he's refused them at every aspect. He claims that Stubblebine, who, if you've ever heard the name Stubblebine, he comes up a lot. Okay?
Stubblebine.
He's a general.
He sounds cute, but I've never heard of him.
So, Greer claims to have been offered $2 billion to go away.
Okay, I did hear that.
By General Stubblebine.
Okay. But he's another one of those guys that if they kill him, then it shows that, oh, he was onto something, right? But how many people have our government killed that were onto something?
Right.
You know? And we just say, oh, they're dead. Oh, they committed suicide. Oh, okay, well, they're gone. But they were really onto something.
Or they got fast-acting cancer.
Yeah.
All this aggressive cancer that took them out. And there are people that were onto something that has happened to, like, a lot.
Yeah.
Like that one, the 0 Point Energy documentary maker.
Mm-hmm.
He got it. Right after making that documentary and died within like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You know? It's crazy, but...
You never know, man.
Greer is he is a polarizing figure.
Uh-huh.
I think he has more knowledge and more inside knowledge than almost anybody.
Yeah.
I think that his tying of his CE5 initiative and tying together of psionics and the phenomenon is spot on. I think he's missing the dog whistle, which makes it easier, but the dog whistle isn't as readily available, which is a mechanical...
The dog whistle? What do you mean dog whistle?
All right.
The fuck you talking about, man?
All right. Let me catch you up on this because you're behind. All right.
Apparently.
All right. So you've heard the name David Grush, right?
Oh, yeah. I know a lot about Grush. He's...
Okay.
In my book, he's a fucking hero.
Have you heard the name Jake Barber?
No.
Okay.
No.
So David Grush has secondhand knowledge of... Which now he claims to have first-hand knowledge, but originally he claimed to have second-hand knowledge.
Which people told him.
Correct.
He never saw any of it firsthand.
Right,
he just knows very reputable people told him shit.
Yes.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
he was an employee of the Inspector General of the intelligence agency. So it was his job to go search out these dark secret projects and bring them to light. That was his job.
Uh-huh.
And he did that. he found the people that had the knowledge, but he didn't see the stuff itself. Supposedly he's seen it now, he claims.
Okay.
Okay. But back then he didn't. And everybody's issue with him was, oh, it's another cool story, bro. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Of type of witness. He didn't have firsthand knowledge. Jake Barber, who has come out recently, and who initially was a Stephen Greer whistleblower, okay, has firsthand knowledge. Russ Coulthart from News Nation. I don't know if you know.
Don't know him.
All right. He's an Australian journalist, and he has jumped into the UAP phenomenon thing wholeheartedly. He is the one who, I think David Grush did the first public interview with him, and then did Jesse Michaels shortly thereafter. Okay. Russ Coulthart also did the first interview with Jake Barber. Okay. And this came out recently. He was the one who did the interview, having claimed firsthand knowledge of a crash retrieval program.
Okay.
So he was recruited early on as a helicopter pilot to start retrieving downed UAP aircraft, okay, for the government. And he was taken off the books, which is how they do this. They take military people and they move them into a different organization so that they don't have a paper trail that people can follow. And he is the one that they released that latest egg video. Have you seen the egg video? All right, you need to look this up.
Egg video.
Okay, yes.
And
look up.
And we're googling stuff while we got you guys here as well. So let's look this up.
News Nation egg video.
Egg video. Okay.
Okay.
Egg-shaped craft.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, click on that. So.
Hold on. Let me tell the audience one thing real quick that I was thinking of.
Yes.
Guys, here's the thing. The reason Adam's here today is because I listen to a number of my podcasts, all sorts of different ones. There's, 20 different ones I listen to. He listens to whatever he listens to, watches whatever he watches, and he has a bunch of information that I have not discovered yet. So we thought it would be a good idea to bring Adam out here. He actually came to my house, which is awesome. Great to see him. Which it's really fun sitting here just shooting the shit with him because he knows a lot about shit that I don't. And it's just, and so I wanted to do it this way because he's going to bring up, and we haven't even gotten to what he came here to discuss. We haven't even gotten to it yet, just because there's so much information about this stuff. We're eventually going to get to it. But Adam is he's a great guest to have because he has been researching this stuff for a very long time, and a lot of what he's researched I have not. So it just made a lot of sense to have him come out and sit here with me and shoot the shit. And as you can tell, we're obviously riffing here. We have no preset agenda. We're just kind of talking back and forth here, and that's the way I wanted to do it because it's just kind of a cool thing to be sitting here shooting the shit and learning. I'm learning along with you guys at home. I know sometimes we might mention something and an acronym or somebody that we just assume that you people know, and I got to work on stopping right there and saying, okay, for the people at home, blah blah blah. But a lot of this stuff is we get so used to talking about it that we don't explain what the acronyms are. We don't really give you any content or any context as to what we're talking about. But for example, UAP. It's the new word for UFO. On and they actually changed the meaning of it recently too. It was unidentified aerial phenomenon, I believe, originally. Now it is unidentified anomalous phenomenon, which now encompasses USOs. Yeah. Unidentified submerged objects.
Then it's multimedia.
Right, which covers everything. So if you say unidentified anomalous phenomenon, that encompasses things flying through the air, things going through the ocean, things flying through rock. There's things flying through volcanoes. There's a number. If you Google UFO flies through volcano, there are videos. There's cameras set up on volcanoes that just capture UFOs flying in and out of them all day. So these things, in Skinwalker Ranch, they have video of UAPs flying in and out of the mountains. So these things can not only fly through the air or water, they can fly through solid objects. So there's some sort of distortion, some sort of it kind of goes along with abductions, where people can fly straight out of their roof or straight through a wall, right? Somehow these visitors have the technology to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I cut in just to explain all that. But,
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, because you have knowledge and research and understanding in places that I don't, and I'm catching up. And you send things my way, and I appreciate it. The Dog Man.
Oh yeah, we got to get into that
podcast too. And stuff like that. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really interesting, and to dive down that rabbit hole has been fantastic, and it's great because it's right in our backyard too, which is awesome too. And it's not necessarily the epicenter, but it's definitely a starting point, and it's a starting point of what a lot of skeptics would say is a hoax from the get. Mm-hmm. Yet it's coming from all over the world, and there's different things.
Yeah,
it's wild, and I feel like your cryptid knowledge is better than mine is. You can fill in some gaps, and I have
as far as dogmen go, I'm probably an expert now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
An expert.
And I feel like we both have some occult and some consciousness, let's say outer body experiences. We have like that too in common. Mm-hmm. That's definitely interesting. I know that you're into, and especially with the DMT and with the
psychedelics. Just another way of tapping into your consciousness.
There you go.
As Ray Hernandez says.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, go full circle.
And the laser
with DMT.
With DMT,
oh my God,
that's a great thing too.
I need to do that. I need to do that.
Yeah.
What we're talking about, guys, is Google it. There's a YouTube video of this guy who takes DMT and shines a laser pointer against the wall, and the laser pointer is 640.
It's a specific laser array.
It's a specific wavelength, right?
Yeah.
And if he takes enough DMT and shines this specific wavelength laser pointer on the wall, what he sees in the light from the laser is basically code. Ones and zeros, kind of like almost like the Matrix. And he has done a study with hundreds of his friends and or anybody who wants to just do it. And he didn't tell them anything. He just said, hey, I'm going to give you DMT and I'm going to shine this laser on the wall and you tell me what you see. And hundreds of these people see the exact same thing. And it's not the laser pointer creating these images. It's the laser pointer revealing these images.
Yeah. And not everybody sees it. which
No.
is like, no, it's not
Okay.
100%
Okay.
replicable, but the vast majority do.
Okay.
And one thing I don't want to misrepresent it. It's not all ones and zeros. There's other symbols.
Okay.
Which
I couldn't remember.
And what's weird is they have a phenomenon link in that a lot of the symbols look very similar to people that have either touched NHI Craft or seen the things. I know, it gets
knew you were
crazy.
Gonna say that.
It gets crazy.
Like Travis Walton, didn't he see symbols on the side of that craft for Fire in the Sky?
He did, but then
I know there's
even
been
Roswell,
hundreds of other ones.
Roswell.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, all the way back to Roswell.
Oh yeah, where he
have
showed
claimed
his kid.
to see hieroglyphics.
Jesse Marcel showed his kid the
Marcel and wrote out those. There are some whistleblowers that have seen
Rendlesham, where he drew pictures.
Yeah, he had it, and he wrote it down.
And then he figured out that it was something.
What about Danny Sheehan? Have you gone down to Danny Sheehan?
I was just watching a video today with Danny Sheehan. That's
Have you
hilarious.
heard his story? Have you heard it? Well,
which one?
Danny Sheehan's story is insane, by the way.
Which one?
So he got to see the Roswell files firsthand.
Okay.
And
being a lawyer, he was
granted access to actually get his hands on them.
Okay.
And he wrote stuff down on his legal pad, and he had the foresight to write down the runes or whatever, the writing, the symbols. He decided to write them down on the cardboard underneath the legal sheets because he knew that they were going to check his notes as he walked out of whichever office he was reviewing them in.
Okay.
And he wrote them down in a place that they wouldn't think to look. And they came and they saw his notes and they were like, no, you can't take this with you. And they ripped off all the yellow sheets that had writing on it, but left the cardboard underneath where he had the things. And so he has those. Okay. And he knows what they look like. And he knows what the original symbols were and that kind of thing. Awesome. And they match up. And they look very similar to the symbols that the DMT laser experiment has created, which is wild, right?
Yeah,
it's because it's like, is this the code to our reality?
Right.
Right.
And there's other like, so you got this dude doing DMT looking at a laser pointer that says, hey, this which might be a simulation. Right. And it's like, this universe may be a simulation. But not only that, so you have that guy who can reproduce this experiment over and over and over, and I would love to do it. But you also have scientists that have other evidence for simulation theory. We won't get into that today, but in my opinion, I would say it's more likely than not that this is some sort of simulation. And I know, everybody, all the listeners are thinking, well, I don't know, this is pretty complicated, man. It's like there's a lot going on in this universe, and I always think that too. Like there's too much detail for it to be simulated. But as time goes on, it would be, think of it as The Sims, right? That's the kind of the usual thought experiment. We have The Sims. We have Grand Theft Auto. And if you injected, sentient thoughts into one of these characters, or just, artificial intelligence into a character in Grand Theft Auto, we can do that now, and we're doing it. we create these
We're
artificial
creating
intelligence
worlds.
scenarios,
Yeah,
right?
we're creating worlds.
Where
Yeah.
if we were that being in that video game, we may be sitting there saying, "Whoa, what am I doing in here?"
Right.
The same thing we're doing in this universe, this planet. But ours is obviously infinitely more advanced. But I mean, in 100 years, think about how advanced Grand Theft Auto will be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Right.
it will look just like what we see in our universe. You know, I mean, it'll be no different. So
Except everybody will have like 8 fingers and it'll
yeah,
with the AI, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, they won't get the fingers right.
uh,
Yeah, no, I get you. But going back to Jake Barber. All right, so
Okay.
David Grush got put in front of everybody because he
Yes, at the hearing.
testified in front of Congress and in front
Yes.
of the country.
And David Grush, everybody, is the guy who was in front of Congress. He was, quote unquote, a whistleblower. He worked for what was his job title in the government? He was like head of special. I don't know what his title was, but he went in front of Congress and testified that he knows a number of people that have firsthand knowledge of recovered alien spacecraft, recovered.
NHI, he
and-
called.
okay,
He never
NHI,
said
okay.
alien or extraterrestrial.
Okay, yeah, you got to, and Adam's right. You got to be careful how you specify these things. I was just being lazy, but NHI. He also said that we do have biologics. Yep, and
Is
he
what
was
he said.
he was very specific, and not say,
'Cause he
"Oh, we don't
has
have
to-
alien bodies.
he has
We have
to stay
biologics."
in his lane.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
he's been cleared to say certain things, and he's been not cleared to say other things. So he's not saying we have bodies. He's not saying
Right.
we have this. He's saying that we have biologics. That could mean a lot of different things.
Yes, he did confirm that it was non-human, though, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes,
He
okay.
said that the biologics are non-human.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So that's David Grush for you guys. He's still.
He's now employed by the government again.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's working for a senator.
Okay.
And he is working to expose the
info.
the private companies and the special, so they're called SAPs, a special access programs
Yes. Black budget. Right.
that exist. Yeah, because this all, and he tells the story very well. So if you look up David Grush and you look up his best way he lays it out is in Jesse Michaels' interview.
Okay.
If you look up Jesse Michaels or American Alchemist, he will lay it out that way. He talks about how the secrecy around NHI and UFOs, UAPs, started back in the 40s with the start of the Manhattan Project. The creation of, nuclear, the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb. And that they utilized that top secret things to create the secrecy around NHI and UAP. And it has just gone from there. And he breaks it down and explains it really well, that the government agency that holds all these secrets isn't what you would think it would be, right? You think it would be the CIA. You think it would be the FBI. You think it would be this. They have no knowledge of it. It is the Department of Energy that actually holds these secrets. And
makes sense.
And for them to be able to, and a long time ago, the choice was made to move these programs and these downed alien aircraft into private industry to get it out of the hands of the public and into private industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that way they're able to shield themselves from meddling politicians, meddling constituents that want access to this, to know where their tax dollars are going to. And so they're called dark programs, okay? They're put into lots of different types of private companies, but also things like, actually, which is weird, but universities as well. They're put into that as well. So if you want to learn about the subject, and I'll say this for you, but I'll also say this for everybody else, there are some people that I point you towards, but one of them, his name is UAP Gerb, and he's on
G-E-R-B?
YouTube. G-E-R-B. Look up UAP Gerb. His research is better than anybody else's, and he dives deeper into subjects about UAP with real substantive, fact-based, and he can back it up with sources, information. Like, it's crazy. It's not just speculation. He is doing, like, and this is why I brought up anthropology, right? Is because what I'm always looking for is I'm looking for sources. I'm looking for people that know how to do real research in this thing and actually can follow the trail of it. And he does. And he does it very well.
Because none of this makes any difference if there's no evidence. I mean, you and I, we're not going to sit here and just talk about what people claim. We're going to sit here and talk about what people can prove.
Right.
And I think that's what I want everybody at home to realize, that we're not sitting here, talking Harry Potter shit. What Adam and I mainly focus on are instances that actually do have a lot of evidence, cold, hard evidence to support it. It's not pie in the sky shit. It's not stuff you can look at and interpret it whatever way you want to. It's cold, hard evidence. And I think Adam and I, we both kind of try to stick to those types of stories. Yeah, we might have a little fun and entertain some, hearsay type of evidence, but overall, I mean, I'm mostly interested in evidence that can be seen by everybody and has reputable people to back it up.
Yeah.
I mean, and there is a lot of it out there, folks. If you haven't looked into it, look into the Tic Tac, the Go Fast, and the Gimbal videos. These were recorded by the best of the best naval, what do you call them? Air pilots, Air Force pilots.
Not Air Force, Navy.
Navy, there you go. But the best of the best. You know, I mean, with the high-tech equipment.
Yes.
The gimbal, the Go Fast, and the, what's the other one? The bourbon's starting to kick in.
Okay.
The Tic Tac. There you go.
No, you said that. You said the Tic Tac.
Gimbal, Tic Tac, Go Fast.
Oh, okay.
Go Fast.
Sorry,
Yep.
you're right. You didn't say it.
The bourbon,
yes,
man.
The
The bourbon.
Yeah, this is 2017, and this is when most people were like, this opened a lot of people's eyes to it, right? There was a New York Times article written about it.
Yes, and didn't they bring that out because of the hacker? Didn't this all come from the hacker that hacked the Pentagon and found these videos? I might have made that up, but
no,
I think
you're
something...
mixing two things up.
Okay, I could be.
The gimbal and the Go Fast did show up in a like a UAP kind of discussions type forum.
Okay.
It wasn't the hacker that
McKinnon
did
or
it.
whatever.
It wasn't him that brought it out, but it did show up one place before it was brought to the public. And Gary McKinnon, it wasn't him. He's the one who hacked into and saw the other world folders and stuff like that.
What else he had? What did he find as far as UFOs though, or UAPs?
He found a lot of talk of it, and
Wasn't something with like John Podesta
well, that's a little bit different.
where he was emailing?
Podesta was
something?
talking to Stephen Greer actually in those emails
Okay,
too.
yeah, that's
Okay,
Yep.
so Podesta had been in talks with multiple different people, and that this was the so what we're talking about is the Hillary email hack on WikiLeaks that led to John Podesta's emails, who is her what was it, secretary, or I can't remember his title, but he was pretty much running Hillary's office, and he was in talks about UAP and UFOs with people.
Okay.
And that kind of thing. But
this here says Gary McKinnon talks about finding the non-terrestrial officer file.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So he basically found a
Which,
file.
That definition, though, too,
non-terrestrial.
That non-terrestrial
just means
has
not
been
on Earth.
True.
That's all it means. It could be somebody on the space station.
Right. And it could.
You know?
It could.
So
he doesn't have as much. He didn't get as much evidence as you would have hoped. But no, this is Fravor. Lieutenant Fravor. But then lately it's come out. This is Chris Mellon. Okay, who is a very important individual in all of this too.
I know him quite well.
And Chris Mellon is also the one who helped to write the New York Times article.
Yes.
That has since come out.
Yep.
And he's super smart.
Yep.
But he is also a government official.
Yep.
Right? So a lot of people take him at arm's length in that what he's saying is only what he is being told that he can say.
Yeah.
But he is super smart, and he knows a ton. And he has said on record multiple times that we have NHI craft, we have NHI biologics, and we have gained access to their craft. Like we've been inside of it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Which a lot of them seem to be controlled through consciousness.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they're not even manned in any way. Or if they are, they're manned by like grays that are drones. Right?
Like
that are
biologic drones.
Biologic robots.
They're robots with, that are kind of half robot, like kind of a
They're
Terminator.
not even necessarily sentient, right? They're just kind of automatons that just do their job, and that's it.
Yeah. But what I was saying earlier, though, is there is some evidence. Like, I've heard of these things smiling or playing jokes. I've heard of the Greys playing jokes
the short
on people.
Greys or the tall Greys?
The short ones.
Really?
Yeah, smiling.
I haven't heard that.
I know. It threw me for a loop because I thought they were just, robots with, skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of them were like playing jokes and like smiling. They would like even smile and like they showed like joy. And so I'm torn on those things. But
when you talk to Chat GPT, does it make jokes or show emotion at times?
It'll tell me a joke. Why? Why did the I can't even remember what the hell that joke was, but I was about
this
to
is
bust
your chance
out
to
the
tell
playground.
a joke, and
I
you
know
just blew
it's something about something went across the playground to go down the slide. I can't remember, but yeah, we'll edit that one out. But let's stop it for a minute here because we need to re-up here, guys.
And I gotta pee.
All right, folks, we are back, and without further ado, Adam is going to bring the topics that he came here with. As you can tell, we've been riffing pretty good tonight. this is going to be a long podcast, but we kind of thought it would be anyway. But Adam has a few topics that he was going to bring up tonight, and we were supposed to get to them a long time ago, but we just kept riffing. You know, there's the material, you can just go on forever. So I'm happy that we did. We need to do it more often. But he's going to go through these topics, and I intentionally, so like I said, Adam knows some stuff that I haven't really looked into. So it's going to be interesting for me to see what he knows about these subjects and how it relates to what I know. So, Adam, what's your first topic that you came with tonight?
I had already started talking about it, but we kind of, my ADD brain, of course, went off on a tangent.
Mm-hmm.
But
we're good at that. We're real good at that.
Jake Barber. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So he has firsthand knowledge and has recovered alien craft. He has a company called Skywatcher.
Okay.
So I suggest you go to the Skywatcher website.
Okay.
Also the Skywatcher YouTube. Okay.
Okay.
They've put out 2 videos so far. And what they do is they are summoning UAP.
Okay, so using the Stephen Greer method?
2 different methods. Okay, so he used to work in the crash retrieval program, so he knows how it works.
Okay.
There are 2 means by which he does it.
Okay.
One is a mechanical... what does he call it? He calls it mechanical microwave something. So it is a mechanical way to summon them.
Okay.
And he says that it works 100% of the time.
Okay, so not use... Okay.
He calls it the dog whistle.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So this is...
All right, hold on. Pause
ahead.
real quick.
Sorry.
Pause real quick for the listeners. So Stephen Greer, who we talked about earlier, he didn't invent it, from what I understand, but he pushed it more than anybody. But it's called the CE5 protocol. And it's close encounters of the 5th kind, which means that humans contact aliens. Close encounters of the 5th kind. The 3rd, if you look through all the different kinds, close encounters of the 3rd kind with Richard Dreyfuss, that's when aliens just come to Earth and make contact with us, or we see them physically. Okay.
Yep.
I can't even remember all the different kinds, but the 5th kind is we contact them. Stephen Greer really pushed this ideology, and in my opinion, it works. What he does is there's a certain way you can kind of meditate and send your consciousness out into the universe, and all of a sudden orbs appear.
He uses lasers too.
Yeah. A lot of times I think the lasers are to show the people that are there.
Okay.
Where it's
you
basically
have a better
moving
grasp
star.
on it than I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. I've tried to do it for a while. Never was successful.
That's because you and I haven't done it together.
That's right.
Just
we got
wait.
to team up, man. But I never seriously tried to do it because what it is you go outside, you kind of do a little meditation thing, you focus your intent, and then you see a star. It looks like a star. It kind of shoots around the sky and like shoots off. It might blink at you a couple times. And for me, like, I'd love to see that and say, hey, blink at me twice, star, or, UFO, whatever. But the thing is I'm just not that interested in seeing a little light out there. Like, if it's, I don't know.
That would blow my mind.
It
though.
would.
If I could do it, get it to me, like, do anomalous activity.
Yeah. But
like,
those are like the best of the best. Are we going to put in the work to do it? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it takes hard work. Yeah, you've got to. One thing that I like
but I do
about
believe
it,
it's real.
I do believe it's real, and I do think because it is with the psionic assets thing, it ties in with that. your intention is it. It has to be for a positive thing. It has to be like love that's put out there, which is told time and time again.
Yes,
which is cool.
Love
like,
is the main
catalyst
frequency.
Frequency, yeah.
If you can reach the love frequency, like that's what the universe is taking us to.
You're
as
right.
time goes on. Universe.
Thomas Campbell again.
Yes,
right?
Thomas
he
Campbell.
Said that
exactly.
Same thing, right?
I love that because I agree with them.
Yeah.
It's lowering entropy.
Yes, it is.
Entropy is basically is chaos. Everything, and they used to say that our universe is entropic, right? As things spread out, everything cools off and becomes more chaotic, right?
The entropy should be growing.
Yes, should be growing.
Yes.
But consciousness, the entropy is actually shrinking as this database, the Akashic Records, the ether, whatever you want to call it, gains more information, and a large part of that is through the human experience. Entropy lowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting.
I mean, the universe definitely shows us that it wants to lessen the entropy.
Yeah.
And it wants to do that through positive and loving means, you know?
But the ultimate goal is love. The love frequency.
Yep.
When you have fear or hatred, all of those frequencies are very low. Love, very high.
Yeah, they say that that's low-level energy, right? That's what a lot of people say.
Yeah. All right, so back
to Jake Barber.
Skywatcher. Okay.
So remember that David Grush had been in front of Congress,
yeah.
Right? And you know how they just had the most recent congressional thing with Jeremy Corbell.
Yes.
And it got derailed at the last second.
Because the woman said that Jeremy didn't bring the document and
right,
some other person
the things
did.
like it was the
so
other
she lied.
thing. She lied, and
Mace.
Yes,
something Mace was her name.
Yeah, her last name's Mace,
which was very interesting because she seemed to be on Jeremy Corbell's side, but then at the very last moment lied about where she got the information.
And went with the other guy who...
The journalist. What documentary was that? I can't remember the name of that. It was on...
What, Corbell put out one.
Yeah. Was that Netflix?
Or Tubi.
Okay, what was the name of it? Do you remember?
I can't remember the name of it.
All right,
but I gotta watch it. But look up Jeremy Corbell.
It was
Tubi
a good one.
Documentary.
Yeah.
And it was him because he had, he is the preeminent. He put out, come on, what's his name? Area 51. He put out the documentary about, George Knapp's guy. Come on, Area 51. Come on, help me out. What's his name? S4.
Bob Lazar?
Bob Lazar, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So he made a great documentary about Bob Lazar. Fantastic one. But there's going to be a better one about to come out in a little bit, along with an experience where
Bob Lazar, living in Lansing, Michigan, currently.
Is he in Lansing? He was up north for a while.
He was in Lansing.
He's in Lansing now?
I think he still is.
Yeah, he's been in Michigan for a while now.
If
and
you
he was
guys,
up north hiding out.
Yeah. If you don't know Bob Lazar, Google him. I don't even want to get into there. I could talk for hours about him, but just Google him.
Area 51 whistleblower.
Right. Who called, what was it, Coast to Coast? AM?
No, he went to George Knapp first.
Oh, did he? Okay,
so John Lear.
Oh, I'm thinking of somebody else.
John Lear brought him to George Knapp.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yep, you got it.
Which John Lear is a very polarizing figure and probably a CIA official anyway. Or agent.
Google
anyway.
John Lear, too, guys.
The heir to the Lear fortune.
I don't know what to think about that guy.
Dude, he's crazy.
I really don't. Like, if you ask me my opinion on him, I can't tell you for sure anything. Because some of the stuff he said is just so crazy. I don't know. I don't know if he's straight up or not. I just cannot. The jury's out on that one.
I think he had the best of intentions. I think he wanted to out some of this stuff. He did work for the CIA, okay, which makes him compromised. And again, anybody who works in the intelligence agency, you got to take them at a grain of salt. And I say that knowing that David Grush was in the intelligence agency and the intelligence world, right?
Okay.
I still believe him, okay? But John Lear also was very close with Richard Doty.
Oh, the king of misinformation.
That was his job, was to red team people. Do you know what the term red team is?
I remember that, but I don't recall.
It's to go in, pretend you're part of something, and blow it all up, right?
Okay.
With like misinformation or misdirection and that type of thing. Yeah. And another thing too, I'll point out, is that Jake Barber admitted to being a red team person.
Okay.
Originally too. So again, Jake Barber too, take him with a grain of salt.
Right.
Because he was in that.
Yeah, you don't know if what he's saying is supposed to be released to the public.
But Richard Doty is the villain in a lot of this.
Yeah.
He had...
And you still see him in a ton of documentaries. And
he's
people
still going.
Yeah.
He's still going.
Saying whatever he says. And then if you read the comments, oh, Richard Doty, the professional, bullshitter.
Yeah. But again, what is the best counterintelligence? It is a candy shell of truth around some sugary bullshit in the middle to misdirect you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So Richard Doty will say and espouse all this crazy shit, but you know that there is honesty somewhere in there.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And
kind of like the Dog Man movie.
Good segue.
Right.
All right. Tell me, how did you get into Dogman?
Okay. You told me you're going to ask me this one, which is a good question because first off, audience, I might have told you this in a previous episode. I can't remember, but 6-7 years ago, I believed in nothing. No ghosts, no cryptids,
Wait, I was
no
talking
afterlife.
To you about reptilians and you didn't believe it?
No. I didn't believe any. At the time, I think I did. But then I went through this whole period for probably 20 years, 20 years.
When you were in engineering school.
Yeah, when I just said, you know what? None of this nonsense exists.
All right.
And I got to tell you a quick little side story real quick. Because I put on Facebook, I said, hey, do any of you guys have any unexplained stories? Because I think they're all bullshit. If you do, I think you're crazy. I didn't say all this, but I said, does anybody have any ghost stories, any, Bigfoot stories, anything? And my buddy, who is now dead, he was like this older guy I worked with, he posted and he said, yeah, I was attacked by some sort of like demonic entity in a basement that I went down into. And he goes, I know it sounds crazy, and I don't expect you to believe me, but it 100% happened. And I messaged him back on Facebook because I was thinking none of this shit.
This.
No, I didn't. I feel horrible about it.
You should have recorded with him.
I know. I really want it. Dude, he'd be first on this podcast if he was still alive. But
I bet.
He said there was this entity, and he used to I used to work with him. He used to do like wastewater type stuff. But he went into this basement, and some type of demonic entity attacked him, and like held him on the ground, and like he completely. Like, he knew. And I said, well, are you sure you weren't just having, like, a heart attack or something? He goes, no, man. Like, I knew it was... I could see the thing. It, like, came upon me. It pushed me down. Like, it made me feel, like, complete fear. all this shit, and I'm
What
like,
else?
you're crazy,
No,
Larry.
you got to give me more details. All right. So what was the description?
It was trying to kill him, is what he told me.
What
It was
did
trying
he
to like
think
stop
that it
his heart
looked
or
like?
something. Just like a dark shadow type of thing.
So it was like a djinn?
Possibly, yeah.
So it looked like smoke?
Yeah, it sounds like a djinn, and from what I understand.
Huh.
But I feel so bad because at the time, I messaged him. I'm like, dude, it sounds like you had a heart attack or something. Like, are you sure? Like, you didn't have some sort of heart problem? He goes, man, I'm 1,000% positive. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you sharing your story. I didn't believe it though. I thought he was just full of shit.
Held down and paralyzed.
Yeah, and like
almost?
his heart was like he was like it was like trying to kill him.
How did he get out of it?
It eventually just kind of loosened its grip, and he like ran out of there. But then that's when I didn't believe, and then I started to listen to just hundreds and thousands of podcasts. And hearsay is not the best evidence, obviously, but when you hear 200 different accounts of seeing some creature, and all of those accounts are exactly the same, you start to say, well, maybe there is something to it. And that's how I got... So, first off, Larry, I'm so sorry I didn't believe you, man. You've passed on, and if I could go back, I would 100% say I completely believe you. If you believe something attacked you, then I fully believe it, especially with everything I've learned. This universe is insane.
Shame on you for not believing.
I know. I feel horrible, and he's gone. I can't even apologize to him. But anyway,
maybe that's why he had the experience, though, right?
Maybe it was me going back in time.
The man in the hat.
Oh yeah.
The tall man doesn't like you.
Uh-huh.
Have you listened to Otherworld or the Spooked podcast?
Oh yeah, Otherworld. I've listened.
I love Otherworld, and Spooked is good too. You gotta listen to Spooked.
Okay.
You can even listen to it with your daughter too. I listen to it with my kids. It scares the shit out of them most of the times, but it's good stories. The tall man in the hat.
Well, I don't want to get in any more trouble with my wife, so. Okay, so going back to the dog man.
So you listen to a whole bunch of podcasts.
Okay, yes. So you people at home, listen to this, okay? So part of the paranormal genre are cryptids, right? So you have Bigfoot, Chupacabra, Nessie, Dogman, Mothman, the Loveland Frog. I can go on and on and on. There's millions of them. There's even one in Lake Erie. I can't remember the name. It's like a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, but isn't it like humanoid? Or am I mixing
no,
that
it's
up?
kind of just like a Loch Ness monster, but in Erie. I can't remember the name of it.
Right.
But these legends are everywhere, right?
It's pretty much any unexplained. So what do they call them? The scientists that look into it? They
Cryptozoologists.
Cryptozoologists.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good explanation. Just unexplained animals that we have no explanation for.
Yes. So, I didn't believe... I kind of believed in Bigfoot at some point, and I just thought it was maybe some, like, ancient Gigantopithecus that just wasn't... Nobody knew still existed, okay? So I thought of like a scientific explanation for Bigfoot. Maybe they existed, but no other cryptids. I mean, come on. A fucking dog man, like a werewolf existing? Ridiculous, right? Well...
Mer creatures too. There's another one. There's
mermaids.
Underwater.
I'm a merman, pa. That's right.
That's right. But you're right.
So ridiculous, right? We all say, "Oh, werewolves don't exist." So I downloaded this podcast that was Dogmen maybe Encounters. Dogman Encounters with Vic Cundiff, And if you guys have not listened to this podcast, you have to at least listen to one. Because the host is hilarious. He's like, oh, yeah, that does sound interesting. His voice is just... I at one point... Isn't it great?
I knew you would latch. The second I heard it, I was like, yes, Justin latched onto this because of his presentation, because of his voice, because of inflection.
Oh, like, man.
Yeah, like, oh, you should know better not to do that to a dog, man.
Yeah. He is, in my opinion, he's on the spectrum somewhere, and so am I, obviously. But he's on the spectrum somewhere, and but I love the guy. He doesn't always have the best responses to, like, when people say stuff, but that's why I love him. And in fact, one day I hope to get him on this podcast. Like, I want to get him on here and just ask him questions.
You better ask me on, too.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, so...
What's the one episode that got you?
Okay, so there were a few that got me.
The latest one, the one that you sent me, really blew my socks off.
Which one was that?
That was the
Prison?
Vietnam one. Holy shit.
Dude, the guy that, like, saw a team of these dog men eating.
He saw, like, the Viet Cong go... Oh, no. Sorry. It's not Viet Cong.
It was South American.
South American. Yeah. It was
that one was
the far
insane,
left
dude.
Socialists and stuff like that, and it tied in. What I loved about it is it tied into my understanding of South American and Central American politics, and it was even like Noam Chomsky, right? It was like, oh yeah, the Americans went in and took these death squads and just, like, let them loose in the country, created these piles of bodies, and then these dog men ascended on the dead bodies, and these guys literally watched them do it.
And in this story, there's no way that guy made that story up.
It feels so authentic.
If he made that up, he is a George Lucas. He's a George R.R. Martin. He's better than all those motherfuckers, because that story was insane.
Crazy.
And this, for you guys at home, this is Dogman Encounters, episode whatever number it is. He has, like, I think 600, 700, 800 of them now. This one was absolutely insane.
And there's, like, warnings all over it, like, do not
let your kids listen to this one. Yeah. That one was one of the big ones that, like, I just knew. And that guy was on 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah, it was 2 episodes
There's just no
long.
way that guy made that shit up. He knew every detail about what he was doing, why he was doing it. He was in the military. There's no way that guy made that shit up. There's just no way.
And, like, why?
Right, and why would you?
Because he wasn't gaining from it. He didn't write a book about it.
Right.
He didn't do anything.
He gained nothing from it. In fact, he probably put himself more at risk. Remember, he said in the episode, this is what really blew my mind, is he said, you know what? I'm more afraid of the men in black than I am of those fucking dog men. That blew my mind, because I'm like, dude, the Men in Black, like, another movie like Dogman, right? Another movie they made in Hollywood to say, oh, we're going to make a funny movie about the Men in Black, and whenever anybody brings it up, we'll say, oh, that's a fucking stupid movie with Will Smith. Haha, you're an idiot. That's not real, but it is real. And this guy who saw all these dog men down in South America, he was more afraid of the Men in Black who threatened him to never talk about these things than he was of a fucking 1,600-pound werewolf. They're werewolves, people, but I don't think they change from human to wolf. I think they're just out in the woods. They're extremely fast. They can climb trees like squirrels. Okay? They can run up a tree.
That's one thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So, what's your understanding of them as an entity itself?
Probably. okay, I go back and forth, and so does Vic Cundiff on this question. Um, but are they a flesh and blood creature that live out in the woods?
Okay.
Or are
Yep.
they some sort of paranormal,
We can
shape
go with that.
shifting,
Yeah.
dimensional shifting type of entity,
Right.
which
Like
a lot
a
of
lot
people
of
think
times.
Bigfoot is?
Yeah, and a lot of times people with these cryptids believe that they come through portals,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
are interdimensional and just
Yes.
pop into existence and
Yes.
pop out, right?
Right.
So, but I'm wondering, give me your feel on what they are, how they are. Are they flesh and blood? Are they interdimensional? Are
That's a really
are
tough one.
they shapeshifters? Are they skinwalkers? Or are they an entity unto itself?
They see. I wanna think logically, and I want to say the government created them, right? They're just hybrids. They're half human and half wolf, and the government created them and let them loose. Or some people even think that they created them to do security for military bases. Apparently, there's a lot of these dogmen around military bases to scare people away from entering the premises.
So, like dolphins, like, you know,
uh huh.
finding mines
Yes.
in bays.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
they're that
Yeah.
type of.
So some people think the government created them, which I would tend to believe, except for the fact that they've been around for supposedly like hundreds, if not thousands of years. The Beast of Chevrodon. Have you ever heard that story? I think that's how you say that.
Not.
I think that's how you say it. Look at this. Beast of Chev something. It's in France. There it is. Gevaudan. Gevaudan. It was this beast. It's a true story in France in 1764. And this wolf creature attacked and killed dozens of people. And they could not catch it. They couldn't kill it. They couldn't do anything. Until one day, somebody finally killed the fucking thing. And they put it on display.
Intervention.
Yeah, they put this thing on display. Yeah. And the king wanted to see it. I remember this part. And it stunk so bad by the time it got to the king. He's like, get this fucking thing out of here. But it was basically a giant wolf.
Because it was rotting? Or
yeah,
because of
it was
the
rotting.
smell of it?
Because it was rotting. But a lot of dogmen actually are reported to smell horrendous.
Yeah,
Same with
that's
Bigfoot.
what I hear a lot.
Same with Bigfoot.
Yep.
But to
the
answer...
like rotting ammonia smell.
Yes. Yep. Kind of just like disgusting. Will make you sick.
What's the
Sulfur.
word that I'm looking for?
But
like
this...
their fur's all matted and stuff. What's
Yeah.
that called? When the dog is like that.
Mange.
Mange. Thank you.
But so this is from 1764, and this, in my opinion, this is one of the first accounts of a dogman. They didn't know what it was, but it was basically just a giant wolf that killed a bunch of people, and they eventually killed it. I do know that the current dogman that people see all the time, a lot of the time in Michigan, the Manistee Forest supposedly has a number of them in there. One way, and I think the only way you can kill them is to shoot them through the eye. I've heard of it in 3 different podcasts where they actually did kill them, and that was the only way to kill them, was to shoot them through the eye. They're solid muscle. They can weigh up to 1,600 pounds. They can be 10, 11 feet tall. They can run 40 miles an hour. They can climb a tree like a squirrel. These things, going back...
bipedal or quadrupedal?
They're both. They're faster on 4 legs, I hear.
Okay.
But they're extremely... And they don't run in packs because there's not enough food out there for them.
Because they seem like an alpha predator. Right?
Yeah,
So
they are the alpha predator of our planet. And they don't run in packs because there's not enough food to run in packs. They need to be by themselves. They eat an incredible amount of food. Probably most of it are deer. They're not very interested in eating humans because we don't have enough meat on us. Is what most of the people believe about that, because they scare a lot of people, but there's very, very few known attacks. Out of the thousands of people that Vic Cundiff has interviewed, there were only 7 of them that were actually physically harmed by them.
Wow.
Out of thousands. So they're there to scare us. They're not there to attack and kill us, from what we know. But okay, so going back to your original question, why do I believe in these things? And by the way, everybody, I haven't seen a fucking thing. I've seen nothing. No UFOs, no ghosts, no dogmen, no Bigfoot, no chupacabra, no Loveland frogs. Okay? I've seen nothing. But I listen to a shitload of podcasts, and there have been a very large amount of reputable witnesses on these podcasts. And there's absolutely no way all of these people are making this shit up. Now, whether a dogman exists, or maybe it's some mass hallucination everybody's having, that could be. I'm not here to say what it is exactly, but I will tell you that there are thousands of people that have seen these things. They look like werewolves. They're giant wolf dog-looking things that walk on 2 feet. And thousands, if not millions of people have seen them, and I believe these people. So whether it's a mass hallucination, which it could be, Google the Beast of Gevaudan.
Have you heard of
and you'll see
the radio DJ from Northern Michigan that made the Dogman song?
I know all about this, actually.
All right.
And he made it just for fun.
I know.
Yeah, right?
And have you
He
heard,
needed a bit.
The often referenced 1890s, 1840s
Yes. And
thing,
Wessex.
and that he created that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah.
I know that there's
this is the original
I
one.
know that is the original.
And Vic Cundiff doesn't even know about this. Because he says
that the 1840 one, which is the one that's debunked,
yes,
exactly,
is the original. I'm so glad you know that.
No, I went down the rabbit hole.
I'm so glad you know that.
I'm gonna research this shit.
I'm so glad you know that, because I figured that out, and I'm like, wait, he's talking about that, but it was a made up thing.
It's a made up thing.
But the Beast of Gevaudan, I don't know how to say it, but. This is 1764. This was even before that. And this is a true account. Yeah. This is an absolute true account.
Yeah, I believe it.
So what was made up, which Vic Cundiff, talks about as one of the first evidences of Dogman.
He constantly references it.
That's why I want to get him on this podcast and say, hey, do you know the true history of that? Do you know that there's something true even before that? So that's why I want him on this podcast. I don't know if he'll do it. He probably won't. Like, who the fuck am I? But I sure will try.
As you should. So we have both been in Manistee State Park together.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything.
No.
But I did have a weird experience in the skies when I was there. I was walking back to my RV, and all of a sudden we look up and we see this line across the sky.
Oh, yeah.
And it could have been a meteor. It wasn't Starlink, okay? It wasn't moving. It was stationary. And what was weird about it is it just stayed there, and then it slowly phased out. And it wasn't just me. It was my kids were with me. And
Didn't
a
Mike
friend,
see that too?
Yep.
Yeah.
A friend and his kids watched it too,
Uh-huh.
and we were like, "What the fuck is that?" But one of the stories, I think the first one that you sent me was 210 attacks. Jesus, is the truck driver
That shot the one.
story that
Yeah.
shot the one
Yeah.
in Manistee
In the eye.
in the eye.
Yep.
But again, what makes you? What does that remind you of? What do you hear about all the time as an outdoors person to shoot in the eye if it's coming at you? A bear.
A bear.
Bear is the only thing. Like
Shark.
something that large, like a moose, something like that. Like you gotta hit it in the eye because its brain is smaller.
It's the only way to kill these things.
And it's just pure muscle, and it's gonna keep coming at you, even if you like graze its brain. Like
Yeah.
you gotta shoot it. You gotta hit that brain stem.
Absolutely.
or
And
it's
so
not
people
dead.
listening to this, if you ever encounter a dog man that is going to attack you, shoot it in the eye.
But Vic and everybody else, have you listened to the most recent one? It was good. A guy that
I
goes
did.
out and researches it all the time
Oh, okay.
about not bringing a gun with you.
Yeah.
that it's
there's-
inviting
Right.
bad
Yeah.
things.
And if you don't want to see one, bring a camera with you, is what he says. Because everybody with a camera doesn't see shit. But, like, once you get rid of your phone and camera, these things, like, come out of the woodwork. Because they somehow... It might come down to the consciousness thing. Like, I don't know. It's a mystery. It really is. But I believe the thousands of people that have seen these things, they have... A lot of the podcasts are anonymous. You know? Like, why...
Sure.
Why would you make up a story and go talk the story on a podcast and be anonymous? Like, who wakes up in the morning and says, it's going to be hard to feed my kids today, but I'm going to make up a story and find this podcast and go on it anonymously and make up this incredibly detailed story that if George Lucas came up with it, it'd be a blockbuster hit. It's like, it's just impossible. There's no way that thousands of people have done this.
The stories are wild too, and they're varied accounts too. Also, are pretty wild, and because like some of them are glowing, some of them like feel like they zap all the light or draw the light around them, like they're so dark they suck light in.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are
like
bipedal.
complete matte black.
Yeah. Some of them are bipedal. Some of them are quadrupedal. Some of them have a big muzzle. Some of them have a shorter muzzle. Or even, I've even heard ones where they have human faces.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird too, right?
I've heard of human, wolf, dog, and even hyena faces.
No, yeah, I bet. In
Have you heard of the
Africa, like,
hyena
why
ones?
wouldn't they be
Yeah.
hyenas? I get it.
But most of them are muscular. A lot of them stink. A lot of them have like dog legs, the kind that kind of like bend backwards.
Yeah, I forgot what the scientific term is.
Yeah.
But the rear legs bend backwards. Yeah.
And a lot of them before they are seen, all of the creatures in the forest stop making noise. Like the birds, the crickets, the grasshoppers, everything goes silent when these things are around.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they'll be like laying down, hiding, and when they get up, you'll hear all their joints pop as they're moving, like pop, pop, pop,
I
pop,
haven't
pop.
heard that.
Yeah, it's
Really?
it's pretty common that people have heard that, and it's just like when you like pop your knuckle.
Yeah.
They hear like when these things move, it just pop, 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 pop. No fucking
As
animal
if it's
noises.
like its morphology is transforming in the moment.
Yeah.
Or doing something that's out of the ordinary.
Yeah, or possibly maybe it was just laying there a long time yeah, just an unusual loud popping sound that has been heard many, many times with these things. A lot of them have ears that are like Doberman Pinscher ears that are like on the top of their head that stand straight up.
I've heard that.
That's very, very common. I've
I
heard
hear
of
a
all.
lot of them, the muzzle looking, they constantly, it seems like 90% of them say that the face and muzzle looks like a German Shepherd.
Yes, very, very. The most common way of describing them is that,
Like a
I've heard.
wide, long, elongated snout. It can't be short. It's not like short.
Yeah,
In any way.
but huge, sharp teeth, and I've heard of them a few times, like grinning at people, basically saying like, "I know you're there. I can kill you at any time."
Yeah.
But they don't.
The eyes vary. It seems like
a lot of
red, amber, fire,
yeah,
like
very
self-illuminated.
reflective.
They say
Yep.
even not like night, not even what is it, light shine or whatever. They say that it like creates its own light.
Yeah,
in its
possibly.
own.
Yeah.
Like even if they don't have a light source at all, it'll glow.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is weird.
Yeah, very weird. But anyway, so I started listening to that podcast years ago, 2-3 years ago, just for fun, just to listen to this shit and
For
actually
shits
make
and
fun of it.
giggles. Yeah.
And just be like, these people are crazy. Like, I'm going to debunk every one of these, right? And I listened to 10 of them, and I'm like, God damn. I'm almost convinced.
I'm a believer.
And then I listened to, 150 of them. and there were, every other episode described the same exact thing, that these people they didn't even know what it was. They didn't even know the podcast existed.
Right.
Until they told one of their best friends after 10 years and said, "Hey, what's weird is I saw this like weird like wolf creature." And they're like, "Oh, you saw a dog man? There's a podcast about that. You should go find this." And like 3/4 of these people were alone in the world thinking I'm fucking crazy and people think I'm crazy. And then they find the podcast and they're so relieved that there are other people that have seen these things. And all these people want to do is get their story out. A lot of them anonymously. But all the stories line up. And yeah, there are different accounts, different colors, different eye colors, different sizes. They're typically between, 6 feet tall and like 11 or 12 feet tall. Different colors, a lot of things differ with these things. But you listen to 150 episodes, and a lot of these people are doctors, lawyers, people that have a reputation at stake, and they're still getting their story out there. Why? Because they have to. They have a need to figure out what the hell they saw walking across the highway, not even giving two shits that they saw them, a lot of them. So
to tie it all the way,
Yeah.
a callback back to Castaneda too.
Okay.
Castaneda talks about Don Juan, who is a shaman and who has known people who deal with the darker sides of shamanism and stuff, and the skinwalker type stuff, is that there were stories, and there always have been stories, and there's even video, a dash cam video of people driving in like California or northern Mexico, driving down the road, and all of a sudden you'll see a flash of a dog standing on its hind legs on the side of the road. And that's always given me the chills and made me just be like, holy shit, that's scary as fuck. It sounds like it could actually happen. And this is actual literal firsthand accounts of that happening. A lot of these people see it go from quadrupedal to bipedal, or it's sitting, like you're saying, on its haunches, back like it's bipedal, but then it just stands up on its two legs, which is weird.
Yeah.
And no wolf will ever do that on purpose. Now, one thing too that I've seen that like to point out, and I haven't seen brought up with him yet, is bears doing this same thing. Not meaning that people are seeing bears doing it, but giving an explanation as to why a canine type entity might be walking on its hind legs is there were bears that walked on two legs. And people are like, look at this, it's so cute, look at this bear, it's walking through on two legs. But then they came to realize that the bear was injured in its front paws. And that's the reason why it was doing that. Okay. And that it was kind of sad. It was like, it made you look at it. There was a viral videos of bears walking around on two legs, and people are like, oh my God, it's so cute, this bear's human-like. And it's like, actually, that bear's suffering.
Hey, boo-boo.
Yeah, right? And it's hurting, and it can't, like, put any pressure on its front paws. That's the only reason it's doing it. And again, that's where my mind went when I was hearing these recollections of, like, okay, yes, a zoologist is going to say that a wolf doesn't walk on its hind legs. But if a wolf is injured in a certain way where it doesn't want its paws to touch the ground, it's going to find a way.
So you're saying all these dog men have injured front paws is what you're getting at here?
I'm just saying that might explain some of them. I'm not going to say it's explaining all of them, but
perhaps some, eh?
But it's like that's where my mind went, right?
Okay.
Is with the bear thing.
Yeah, I gotcha. I've seen some videos of some bipedal bears, so I hear you on that one. Guys, if you're privy to the Dogman Encounters radio podcast, episode 550 is one of the best ones out of all of them, in my opinion. It's about this guy who goes to jail for he had his identity stolen, and this person was a criminal that did all sorts of crimes under his alias. And this dude went to prison for 5 years. But before he went to prison, he saw a dog man out in the wild. I can't remember how he saw it or whatever. But so then he sees the dog man and just keeps it to himself, goes to prison. And while he's in the prison yard, him and dozens of other prisoners see a fucking dog man come into the prison yard. It like jumps over this like huge fence and actually even cut through it at one point, which you would need like a bulldozer to get through this fence, and this dog man just cut through it like it was a hot knife through butter. But he and a number of different inmates saw this dog man come into the prison yard, and they all, like Adam said, you believe when you see these things that are so bizarre and weird, you believe whatever you believe. And so the Indian people, they thought it was some sort of Indian deity. The atheists, they thought it was just a wolf, a wolf creature. The religious people thought it was some sort of demon. So everybody had their own interpretation of it. And this dude who saw one previously before he went to prison was the guru. So everybody came to this guy and said, wait a minute, is it true that you've seen one of these before? And he's like, oh yeah, that's 100%, that's a dog man. And he was on this podcast before he went to prison. And so he showed everybody in prison this podcast that he was already on. And they couldn't believe that he had seen one of these before. And they said, that's exactly what we saw is what he described in his podcast. So in prison, he said like the Bloods, the Crips, everybody who would never talk to him because they could be killed for talking to this dude. They came up to him and said, hey man, I hear you know what that thing was. And he's like, oh yeah, 100%. I was on a podcast about it. It's a dog man. It's 100% a dog man. And then when they go and look, every one of them went and looked into it. They found out the exact same thing that he said. is that they were dog men. It was a dog man.
That's crazy.
So this episode 550,
All
you
right.
got to listen to
I
it.
have to listen
It's
to
freaking insane. And if you still don't believe the dog man, at least this episode tells you to protect your identity, because this guy went to jail for 5 years with somebody stealing his identity. So after this, I was like, okay, what can I get to protect my my shit? You know, you got the LifeLock and all that stuff. Get that shit, people, because you don't want to go to jail. And this guy was lucky to get out.
That's wild.
But anyway, going back, okay, so Jake Barber, you started there. You had a couple other things.
So
we could go on forever.
Lately,
so.
I know, but so he lately. All right, look up Skywatcher website.
Okay.
Okay. They have a 6-phase plan. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Okay.
And you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see a lot of familiar faces. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number him for one. Okay. He's the one who interviewed Chris Mellon on that Salt thing.
No, there's Gary Nolan.
There's Gary Nolan, who's also part of it. Okay. So they have 9 classes of UAP that they've identified and videoed. There are 2 episodes of it so far. And they're jellyfish. They're tetrahedrons, like diamond shaped. There are eggs, which are the most anomalous. There are a lot of different ones. And so they bring them in by 2 means. Psionic assets, so CE5 initiative type stuff, and the dog whistle combined. And they said they have 100% efficacy rate on this.
Okay.
And they've just released their second video, and they show the 9 different classes. Some of them are questionable. A lot of the skeptics are honing in on some of the jellyfish videos that definitely look like balloons, right? Like a heart-shaped balloon that's flown up really high, like a thing. And it's wild, man. Like, if they're able to bring a craft in and convince it to land, that's just like game over. It's like, it's done. Like, they'll have evidence of it.
Mm-hmm. And is that what these guys are claiming to do?
That's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Scroll down. Keep scrolling down a little bit.
So they basically think
here.
these aliens or visitors.
So you look at process,
whoever.
research, and media. Okay, so process is the different things. Yeah, it's pretty wild, and they're pretty much trying to force disclosure outside of the government. They're trying to take disclosure away from the government.
Okay, got it. All right, we're back. There was a brief pause there, but we have no idea what we were just talking about because we went off on multiple tangents during the break. So you were originally talking about Jake Barber, Adam, and that got us into everything associated with that. Where were you going with that, or can we move on to the next item that you brought to us?
Yes. So last thing I have to say about that is check out Skywatcher. I think it's like on the internet. It's like skywatcherai.com or something like that. Skywatcher also has a YouTube account. Keep a close eye on that. They have 1 episode. They have 2 episodes that they've published so far. And the 3rd episode is going to detail even more stuff. But they have 9 different classes of UAPs. So here you go. All right, and Matt Pines is a big name, right? There's Gary Nolan. All right, so Jordan Yosak, he's one of the psi assets. He's one of the psionics. And then these, as you can tell, are the special. They're all the military guys, right?
So Gary Nolan, everybody, is a Harvard scientist, is he? Stanford, okay.
He works for Stanford.
He works for Stanford. Extremely smart, most likely a genius. He has been in the UFO field for quite some time. In regards to basically studying material that was supposedly either dropped from UFOs or recovered from crashed UFOs. Is that your understanding of?
Yeah, and he is a what is he, a biologist, and he's able to, and a chemist, and he's able to study these things, and he's seen isotopes in it that don't naturally occur on Earth. And he's deep into it. He's part of the Sol Foundation, SOL, which is...
What's that?
The Sol Foundation is a symposium that has a get-together every biannually or maybe annually that they break down in a scientific manner all of the existing UAP phenomena. This includes Gary Nolan. Gary. This includes Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet.
Oh shit! You name dropping. You name
lots
dropping like
of
crazy.
people. Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's lots of them. So who else? The astronomer, the Swedish astronomer. I can't remember her name right now.
Maura Mandrila?
No, that's not her. That's not her.
Oh man,
she's not that pretty. But the two people are Gary Nolan and Peter Scotfish.
I didn't realize Gary Nolan was part of all these different groups. That pleases me greatly.
No, he's a huge part of it. And
that's awesome. Unless he's a disinfo agent.
No,
right?
I don't think so.
I don't think he is. I think
he's right in there in academia, and I don't think he is.
He is the link between evidence and these phenomena. He's doing a great job.
He's doing whatever he can to bring scientific rigor to it. Mm-hmm. That's why you see him as a part of the Skywatcher.
Right. I love that he's part of all these things.
Skywatcher really has put out a bunch of extraordinary claims and evidence, and he was there for some of it, and he admits that he did not see it. Okay? And he didn't see it firsthand. Like... So even though they had psionic assets and they had the dog whistle, which is like the mechanical
way of calling
microwave
the visitors.
It's the way to call them, which they claim is 100% effective in bringing them out. Gary Nolan said he did not see it, though he was there when other people did make visual confirmation of it. Like, he was in the building, and on top of it, they had people watching the skies, and the people above him, while the psionic assets were working, saw something.
And I don't think we ever defined what psionic means. Is that like psi, like they're using psychic abilities?
Correct.
What is that?
Yes, so they're using, similar to Stephen Greer's CE5, they're using so it is meditative. They put a new word on it. Click back on the website. Let's see, Skywatcher. Click on this one. So they call it neural meditative Which is a great explanation. Like, it's a neural meditative state.
Okay.
So if you go to process, I think it'll be on there.
And this is all on the Skywatcher website.
Right.
For you at home.
So,
okay.
Look at leveraging multi-domain sensor platforms, cross-referencing from telemetry. So it is a meditative way, and similar to what Justin has talked about before with like putting a positive vibe out into the world, and that's what he has alluded to. It takes that, putting out like a love type frequency,
which is what Stephen Greer says to attract the
same
UAPs.
Thing.
Yep.
Same thing. If
you have to send out love and good intentions and say, yeah, and that's what attracts them. And then they say, oh, okay, this person is a loving human being.
Yeah,
we're gonna interact with them because we know they're one of the good ones.
And it's weird. It's almost like a ping on their radar, right? If like a consciousness lights up to this intention and ability, all of a sudden they're like, boom, they latch onto it.
Yeah.
And they show themselves, whether it's interdimensional. I don't know how deep you went into Otherworld. How much of Otherworld do you listen to?
Otherworld, the podcast.
Correct.
I've listened to probably, I don't know, 40 of them.
Did you hear the one about the Swedish women who their mother was first contacted and then they were contacted about entities from another dimension? Did you hear about that?
No.
All right, I'll send it to you.
Please do.
All right. I wish I could remember.
Do you need me to send you the Dogman prison story?
Yes.
Okay.
Send me that one.
Wait, I think I did send you that. I think I got you.
I swear I've listened to everything you've sent me.
Man, that one, oh God,
that's a good one.
It's an insane story.
All right, well, this other one too on Otherworld, this is a wild story about a Swedish mother and daughter, and they have this continual connection with an entity over like cell phone messaging and like in person
and sexually
too. No, not
okay.
sexually.
Thank God.
Not sexually. It doesn't
I'm like,
get
they
into
can't
that.
be both sleeping with the same
No,
ghost.
just because I'm talking about Swedish women doesn't mean it has to be sexual. All right.
Well, I think of the Swedish from the Muppets, the Swedish chef.
Right. Flugen, flagen. First, the pearl, the fish, the bird, the bird.
Yeah, which somebody said kind of sounds like Elon Musk as of late.
He's South African. He's fucking the opposite. What are you talking about?
Just
I know
the way
Swedish people. I've been to Sweden and I fucking love it. And they are the farthest from Elon Musk that you can get.
Just the way, like, I don't know. It was some stupid video. But
anyway. Flagen. But the reason I bring that up is because the interdimensionality and the positive love intention aspect just seems to constantly come up, right? Like, and let's get into the telepathy tapes. Have you listened? Have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
Yes.
Every episode?
No, only like the first.
That's it?
That's it.
How could you stop? How could you stop?
Because I got the premise.
All right. So the rest is just redundant?
Yeah.
Is what you
that's
felt?
what I was thinking. But
please listen to the rest of it, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay. Well, explain to the listeners what the telepathy tapes are. And by the way, listeners, we've been drinking some bourbon this whole time, so it's kind of like what did you call it earlier? The drunk history. I like that.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, we've really
sloppier and sloppier.
So it's a real podcast with real people. Okay.
It's not just a real podcast. Like, this was the #1 podcast for like 4 months.
Yeah, mine. Swallow Your Soul.
I wish. The telepathy tapes.
Oh,
With Kai Rizdal.
But tell us about these tapes, man.
So the telepathy tapes are...
All right,
Kai Rizdal.
Tell us what they are, and then tell me why I should still keep listening.
Okay.
Even though I completely get what the gist is.
The telepathy tapes are made by a woman named Kai Rizdal. She is an educated and, I believe, journalist as trade. But she talks to a preeminent parapsychologist, which I know, which is a button word or hot topic word. I can't remember her name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But she's from Harvard. And she has been interested in psychology, in telepathy for a very long time. And her name's Dr.
Who gives a shit? Just get to the gist of it.
They have found that nonverbal autistic children, adults, any nonverbal autistic people, they have found that they claim is 100% are able to communicate telepathically with the people that are closest to them. And again, to tie back to the love thing, it has to be a connection with a very close connection and a loved one and an honest relationship. A caretaker, a parent, something like that. But that these non-speaking autistic people can communicate telepathically. And not only that, but they telepathically communicate with each other on a place called the Hill.
Oh, I didn't. This is new to me.
Jesus, you haven't got to this yet?
No, remember I just listened to like half of the first episode.
You gotta keep
and
going,
I'm like,
bro.
these kids are fucking psychic, man.
Yeah.
All right, I get it.
No, this is even further.
On to the Dogman episode.
That's right. You gotta keep listening, though.
Okay.
So they meet up on a place called the Hill. And what's wild is they get downloads and teachers while on the Hill. So they are tapping into the
master
human,
database.
Yep.
The Akashic records.
The Akashic records, the human database of experience.
See, people? It all comes full circle.
Or beyond human consciousness as well, to be able to download these things. Yes.
Universal.
Yes.
Not
And
just on this planet,
they
but
know
every
how
planet.
to speak. They're multilingual just by downloading without ever learning it. They learn and can know things that they have no business of knowing and have never been taught. But they know because of tapping into that well of consciousness. And they meet up on gathering places. And there's more than one, which is wild. It's not like they just have one consciousness meeting area to meet up on. There's multiple ones. They can like break out into different rooms and stuff like that. No, but it gets even deeper and it's wild. And they claim to be able to show with complete scientific austerity that this is a real thing. Now, I showed it to a mutual friend of ours, Kevin, and I talked to him about it. Mm-hmm. All right? Which this is paradigm shifting, right? So if you can grasp that telepathy is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is no longer physical. This isn't something that can be physically measured.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But
You're right.
one day.
But one day
will.
we should have the ability.
We will.
To do
we
that.
will be able to measure this conscious effect of tapping into consciousness.
Right, but the world is
which
caught
also
in
deals
this
with
physical paradigm where it has to be proven with quantitative elements in the real world. Where I come from a scientific method myself in anthropology that is vastly qualitative, not quantitative.
But here's the thing about that, though. Here's the thing. Is a lot of this consciousness stuff correlates with quantum ideologies.
It does.
So the fact that an electron can be in two places at once, it doesn't make sense to us, but it is possible, right? So when you're dealing with these quantum possibilities, that's where consciousness lies, I believe. And so that's why if you have a quantumly entangled particle that obviously is not hindered by the speed of light, you change the spin of one of those particles, the other one instantly changes. Even if it's, across the globe, we know that the speed of light can be broken, and there's some other force behind it. I don't even remember my original point.
You're fine. You're fine. So with the quantum stuff, how?
Oh yeah.
So do you think that the brain can be a quantum computer with all the warm, wet noise that it is?
No. And now I remember what I was getting at. The quantum, it's... Okay.
Have you heard of the breaking down of the wave function by the brain?
Yes, and that has to do with consciousness, right?
Yes, it does.
And
have you heard
the
about...
double slit experiment?
Yeah, very similar, okay? Yep. It's similar to that in that it takes the observer for it to happen, right? But also, have you heard of microtubules and the microbiology, the quantum biology of this?
Yes, I have.
All right.
I have.
So I forgot his name.
I read a good amount about it.
I forgot his name, but this is what's wild because he is
are those like mini little portals or like wormholes or am I okay?
No, this is different.
Okay.
So what this is an anesthesiologist.
Okay.
And what he wanted to do is figure out how do we displace consciousness for anesthesia, right? Because what you're literally doing is you're hitting the pause button on consciousness for anesthesia, right? Because think about it. The second that they pipe anesthesia into you, you blink out. Next time you come to, boom, you're right back in the same place.
Every time I've ever come to, though, my pants are down. Have you ever noticed that?
I think that's a personal situation.
Or is that just me?
I think that's where the anesthesiologist you're going to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I found him on Temu, so.
So this anesthesiologist wanted to figure out, and he's a biochemist, I believe. I can't remember his name. I should know it, but it's too late at night, and I don't remember. But it's not Wolfram. But he's associated with Wolfram. Wolfram's the
Wolf of Wall Street.
No, Wolfram's computational, which you should know.
Well, stop name dropping, man.
But this guy, so he found that at a quantum level, there are these things called microtubules in the brain.
Yes, I've
and
heard
this
of this.
is where the brain and they take not enzymes but proteins and they put it in a lattice form in your brain, right? So that it forms a tubule and it can be broken out and then reconstructed easily. And if these microtubules break down, then consciousness is lost. It's almost like the brain is a quantum computer that collapses what's known as the wave function, right? Which is the scalar waves or the vector, I forgot what it's called. But that our brains have somehow been able to be a superconductor, really is what it comes down to, right? Because that's what quantum
and we're all in
computers are.
tune through frequency.
Through frequency
is that part
and
of it,
quantum,
or no?
yeah, because quantum mechanics takes frequency to work.
Yeah.
Everything has to be in congruent frequency, or else
Right.
it doesn't work. It breaks down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why superconductors have to be frozen to almost 0 Kelvin, because it slows down everything to the point where it's in resonant frequency. Everything's vibrating at the same rate. And then you're able to predict what happens and what doesn't. That's why quantum computers have to be frozen. And that's why I point you again to that Livermore Labs explanation video as to how quantum computers works.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
when
gonna
you see
check
a
that
picture of a quantum computer, you see that there's multiple levels that go down in a conical shape like this. Okay? And there's different breakdowns and they have different like wires that go between them. And these breakdowns of layers are actually there because each one of those layers gets colder and colder and colder because they have to slow down the resonant frequency of those molecular processes. Okay? So that it is able to be replicated and anticipated.
Okay.
It's crazy. I know it sounds crazy.
It reduces all variables.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all the molecules come into a singularity where they all slow down and they move in a predictable pattern. Because if they don't work in a predictable pattern, it can't be repeated, and then you can't rely on the molecular or the quantum computation. And then the error's too high. Yeah. And again, what does it come down to? It comes down to entropy, which we keep coming back to again, which is quantum computing is entropy, not the opposite of dilation, like the entropy minimalization.
Reducing entropy?
Yeah. It's entropy reduction. That's what it is. And again, that's what our there are a reason that there are these same ideas stretched out across all these different phenomenon. Because we're talking about the same thing.
Well, consciousness, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird. To think that UFOs, the underlying thing that ties us to that is consciousness, is weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But we don't have all the answers yet, and we may never have them, But the reality is that these things truly are out there. If you don't believe me and Adam here, go listen, go look into everything we mentioned. There's a number of the most reputable Navy people you could ever imagine are, they just have incredible stories of these phenomenon. And I mean, don't believe me and Adam here. Go do your own research, and if you do, you'll see. Go listen to this. Go listen to the Dogman Encounters podcast. You'll be just like me. You don't believe any of it. You listen to it to make fun of it, and then all of a sudden, wow, 100 episodes all match up. There's no way people would do that. So, Adam, do you have anything to add at the end here before we log off?
Do your own research. Listen to Jesse Michaels' American Alchemy podcast and YouTube show. Listen to UAP Gerb YouTube channel. He does the best research I've ever heard.
GERB?
UAP GERB.
Okay.
He's awesome.
I haven't looked at any of that.
So he follows the paper trail.
Okay.
And he gets into it. And he even, like, his latest episode, his videos are like 2 hours long, but it takes him like 2 months to make them. So it is very well researched. He's super knowledgeable. His latest one was about DUMBs, the deep underground military bases.
That's
You'd be
huh?
super surprised.
The Gerbs revealing this shit?
Oh yeah, no, he breaks it down.
Do people call him the Gerb or
no? They call him Gerb.
Gerb?
Gerb.
Hey Gerb, what's up, man?
He
Gerb.
breaks down the deep underground military bases. The shit's
like
crazy.
Dulce?
Oh, and
Does he know
way
about
beyond.
Dulce?
Of course. That's one of the main ones.
I just watched a documentary about that last night, man. With the fucking dude that said they drilled the 4 holes, and there were he went down there. What was his name? He got killed. He got strangled by a catheter, a catheter tube.
What's his name? Are you talking about the big Dulce base?
Yeah, the guy.
Fight and everything, where it was like the aliens were fighting the humans, and we accidentally. There's probably some truth to that shit.
There's a
I
documentary.
don't put it beyond them.
There's a documentary on, I think it was Prime that I meandered on over to, but
yeah. So they talk about Dulce Base. They say it's like 3 miles deep, 15 different levels. Some of them are reptilians. Some of them are grays. Some of them
David
are
Icke's people.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and we haven't talked about mantids yet, but we'll get into that shit later.
I hear they're typically involved with medical procedures. The mantis beings.
Okay, all right.
Like whenever there's a medical procedure, there's like a mantis, like a praying mantis being there.
So if you were a surgeon and you had your little underlings doing work for you. You'd want to pop in during the actual procedure, right? Like if the Greys were your drones and they were doing the little work before you, you'd want to pop in, as they were doing the important shit, right?
I don't know, but I mean, you know what I do know is that if you're a mantis being and you're doing all these medical procedures, if anything goes wrong, you just eat the heads of everybody there, right? And call it a day.
That's a female mantis after she has sex with
hell
a mate.
Yeah. They're eating heads, bro. Well, Adam, thanks so much for coming out today, man. We're going to get back together because we could just do this for, hours on end. And the bourbon has kicked in. We've had a good old time. And thank you guys for listening. Adam is going to definitely come back, or we could do it remotely, whatever works. But he and I could just riff for hours on end. So there's a lot of information that we didn't even touch upon. And we're just very happy that you guys are listening. So take care. Thanks a lot for listening, and we love y'all. Swallow Your Soul podcast out.